with a buddy yesterday.
Okay.
And
Speaking
I was
of
like,
futures?
I was like, what do you think LSU's win total is? When we did the whole song and
year?
dance again.
Okay.
And he's like, 9.5. I was like, subtract 1. And then
Yeah,
we
8.5
went through
is
the
crazy.
schedule. I was like, do it as negatively as you can. And he's like, I'm still at 9.
No, I'm with you. I don't see LSU ending 8-4.
And
There's no way.
And he counted the Clemson game as a loss. And he's like,
Yeah.
that'll suck. But if I'm doing it by the book of if you think LSU wins or loses and you want to pick a loss, that's what he did. You still ended up at 9 wins.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, to me, you're
Minus
playing
140 on.
Ole Miss away, playing Alabama away. Those are two, if I'm looking at it negatively, losses. Clemson away, loss. You have South Carolina at home. You have Florida at home. You have A&M at home. Like, you have Arkansas at home. Like, you have everybody at home.
I'm not necessarily scared of going to Oklahoma.
No. Or Nashville.
Been there, not scared.
Like,
They don't even know football's going on.
8.5 to me is crazy. And in the document, you had what? You have some of the opponents' moves that they've made. Mm-hmm. Because, like, when you really stack up the schedule, and that first month, to me, is key. If they make it through the first month undefeated, they make it through September undefeated, they've got a really good shot. Because the first month of the season is Clemson, Florida, Ole Miss, all three in September. Even though Clemson's August 30th, but we're going to count that in the first month discussion. Clemson with the portal ranking. LSU obviously was number 1, transfer portal additions. Clemson had the number 37 portal class, which is probably their highest ever.
It's the only time
they've used it.
Yeah. It's a good start.
They added 2 edge rushers and a wide receiver.
Well, interesting that they add edge rushers after LSU loses 2 bookend tackles.
Right.
Like, maybe we will. Like, let's try to win this first one, and this is the way to do it.
Yeah, and they obviously have, like, when we talked about their draft, like the 2025,
They're
2026
stacked on the
draft,
defensive line.
they've got 2 D linemen going in the top 10. So, I mean, that's obviously a discussion.
Speaking of futures, setting up for disaster.
Yeah, speaking of futures, I'm going to get to.
Don't be surprised.
As we're talking about the 2028 and 2029 openers, let's get back to 2025 as Clemson's adding some defensive ends. Jeremiah Alexander is from Alabama, former 5-star. He was ranked the number 42 edge rusher in the portal. Clemson did not lose a single player rated 4 stars in the portal, according to On3. But 6 of their 7 departures went to other Power 4 programs. So, Helt, the other edge rusher they added, was a 4-star addition. Someone LSU was rumored to be looking at.
Number 5 edge, number 141 player in the portal per on 3.
So he's somebody that obviously, if LSU was on him, talented player. And Alexander's another guy that was a former 5-star. He was the number 42 edge rusher in the portal, but Helt was number 5. And then Florida had a portal class that was ranked number 64. Florida added 6 players and lost 20, including 2 LSU additions, and Jakeem Jackson and Jack Pyburn were 2 of those 20 that headed to Baton Rouge. So they added a wide receiver in Sturdivant, edge rusher, and Kofi Asari, and a safety in Michael Caraway. They had the number 64 class. Now when you get into the real competition, Ole Miss, not the real competition, I'm talking about portal-wise. Ole Miss had a portal class ranked number 3, 2 spots behind LSU.
31 people leave and 28 people come in.
Ole Miss did? Oh, my word. Like, that's the thing, man. They're in this business of refreshing every season.
I don't want to see LSU get that far into...
Because that's bad. That is bad.
That's a whole different roster.
That is bad. Like, I wonder, you know how LSU talks about their percentages? Like, wanting this percent to be
it was
guys that were in-house, this many high school guys, this percent of...
building a program.
This is like usage. Like, if you're looking at usage rate, you're like 100% gone. You're adding in your new 100%.
How do you even commit there?
It's unbelievable. They add one Deshaun Womack, an LSU
Added
guy.
7 4-stars without losing one.
Interesting. Sage Ryan, also a portal addition for Ole Miss.
5-star.
Caleb Odom, who's the big guy, 5-star from Alabama, transferred to Ole Miss as well.
And someone near and dear to our heart.
Oh, yeah?
Deshaun Womack.
Yep.
From LSU.
Yep. He was their big, I think they're like their first big fish addition. And I think he'll be a significant piece for Ole Miss. So they've gone out and obviously rebuilt their roster through the portal in quite the impressive way. Losing 31 players.
You could have literally
adding 28.
A new defense and a new offense.
Like 28 players is an entirely new starting 11 on both sides of the ball.
With 6 to spare. And 6 to run on kick.
Like, unbelievable. And then South Carolina, they had a portal class ranked number 27. Texas A&M, portal class number 17. Alabama 62. Oklahoma 50. So, obviously, every team sprinkled in the portal, but Ole Miss, unbelievable. Portal class number 3, but they lost 31 players from their roster. And that's only counting the portal. Like, they also had everybody leave for the draft. Their starting quarterback was drafted. Their star defensive line was drafted, Walter Nolan. Like, they're going to have an entirely new roster.
Yeah, but it's going to be good.
It is. And so, but still looking at that, if I'm going to the schedule, like you said, 8.5 is the win total. If LSU goes 8-4,
I'll kill myself.
It's an absolute
abject disaster.
Yes, like absolute. Like
you
would
can't
have to
do
lose.
what they've done. Like LSU is not even on this list of portal rankings because it's like far and away the number 1 team. And you do it again when you go get a safety where it didn't feel like the LSU was ever in those conversations a year ago,
right?
2 years ago, 3 years ago, and now it becomes sneaky safety enters the portal, and you're like, that'd be great for LSU to get like a legit player,
number 1
and
player
then
in the portal.
Shut it down, LSU.
Yep, he gets on the campus. He goes to Miami
with Rick Ross.
Gets driven around by Rick Ross as a chauffeur. And leaves campus because that's the thing now. If they make it off of campus without a commitment, you think you're out of it. And so he leaves. He makes it out of Coral Gables and heads to Baton Rouge. 30 minutes after he posts a picture outside of his hotel room, the commitment announcement comes in. Shout out. Did you read Wilson's write-up on LSU, NIL, Austin Thomas? It was excellent. We talked about it a little bit last week while you were in London town.
Yeah, I didn't get the Advocate.
But it was great. It was really good.
No, I'm one of the biggest Austin Thomas advocates that there will be.
Good play.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, I mean, they went all kind of the way they broke down.
He's a general manager.
Yeah, I
mean, legitimately.
Yeah, they took a trip to Seattle and Houston to break down the way you evaluate positions. And they had it.
2 teams that have crushed the draft in totality.
Yes. And they've had it, they did that in August before the season started. So, this was, as much as the Bryce Underwood thing, because he talks about that, kind of lit a fire. They were ready to go all in on this offseason. Regardless. And so, last year, and when I was talking about last year, LSU was battling for a D lineman against Miami, and I think it was Simeon Barrow was his name, and took him to Supper Club, the whole deal. They lose. A.J. Halsey, it's between LSU and Miami, and a year later, LSU wins that fight. And then, speaking of spring portal additions, Bernard Gooden, number 1 player at his position in the transfer portal, at a position of need.
You're losing count.
Yeah, and when
if you got Bernard Gooden last year, we would still be talking about it.
100%. When you were talking about the spring window, what did you dub it as? What was LSU looking for?
Cherries.
Yeah, like a hired gun. Mm-hmm. You have your spots that you need. Go get the best guy at that spot. And they went 2 for 2. We need a D lineman and a safety. Let's get the number 1 defensive lineman and the number 1 safety, and get them committed.
And go 8-4.
That would be an absolute disaster.
That's a Brian Kelly fault.
Because if it's 8-4,
and I don't think they will.
No, and if it was 8-4, I would say they lose to Clemson, Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama. I think those 3 would be locks. Those are the 3 away games that are kind of tough to win. You haven't beat Alabama and T-Town since 19. You haven't beat Ole Miss and Oxford since 2019. And Clemson's a season opener, and you haven't won one of those since 2019. So if history's telling me anything, those 3 would be losses. Outside of that, the game that would be, I don't think they lose to Arkansas or Vandy or Oklahoma. I guess it would be Florida or South Carolina at home would be the 4th loss. It's even hard for me to look that negatively at it. But
just because it's at home.
Right. It would be between those 2 games, to me, would be the 4th loss.
Yeah.
One of those 2. I just think 8.5. There's no way LSU goes 8-4. If they go 8-4, it's an absolute disaster. And
they
everything
go 9-3. It's not great.
Oh yeah, no. If you don't make the playoff, it's
and I wouldn't
way below.
I wouldn't
expectations.
sit here and say this if they didn't do what they did.
Right. No, they went out and they made it known before the offseason. Brian Kelly, the quote that's going to be played all season. If they lose to Clemson, this quote will be plastered everywhere. It will be, "We're taking receipts. We'll see you at the national championship." Right? So that kicks it off. And then they go out and
get
Garrett Nussmeier
literally
back.
pay and
they
get receipts.
Harold Perkins back. And then they go and, like Lloyd said, they get actual receipts for the payments they made to bring in these guys.
19 players through the portal?
I think it's 18 or 19, and it's the number 1 class, number 3 all time since they started recording the transfer portal in 2022. No, not at all. And the 2 teams, the 2 classes that were rated higher than LSU all time from 247,
Ohio State?
No, were Ole Miss and USC from the first portal opening in 2022. Because USC, that was Lincoln Riley coming over, Caleb Williams, that whole class. That was the highest rated ever.
Caleb Williams will shift the.
And then Ole Miss's class
on the scale.
in 2022 was the 2nd highest ranked ever. So since that first original transfer portal offseason, this is the highest rated class ever in what LSU's put together this offseason. So, I mean, it's
like I said,
the expectations are there.
Oh, and you're out of moves.
Sabrion says Oklahoma might be a bigger threat than Ole Miss. Oklahoma, it doesn't move the needle for them, but maybe it should. Because they went out and they got, what's his name, Mateer, the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Brent Venables, obviously the head coach of the defense, is going to be there. And you're traveling to Norman, a place that when's the last time they've played Oklahoma in Norman? Ever? David Reed, 8-4 would land for sale signs in BK's front yard. Yeah. I think 9-3 could also have a similar effect.
But Ben Arbuckle doesn't really move the needle for me.
Who's that?
Oklahoma's offensive coordinator. Like, Seth Luttrell was the name that I knew.
Right.
And they got rid of him, and then they bring in Ben Arbuckle.
So
Washington State. Like, I'm sure, that offense plays at Washington State.
He came from Washington State. So he's tied with Mateer.
Yeah.
Because that's where
they got, so they got both.
Okay. I mean, so that's obviously a storyline to keep. And so good point by you, Sabrion. That'll be one to keep the eye on. So that could also be the 4th life. It burns down. I just think at that point in the year, you're playing Oklahoma the final game of the season.
You saw even in a year where you went 8-4 that they still cared.
Yeah, and that was, to me, the most complete game they played all year was that Oklahoma game, because you had Chris Hilton as your deep threat. Nussmeier gets hurt, comes back, tore it all up in the shoulder, and starts ripping touchdowns. He's running the football. Your defense was stout.
Give him Toradol every game.
Sabrion, what makes you think Ole Miss will be good? No, it's more of a playing the history than anything else. So when I was looking at the schedule, you haven't beat Ole Miss in Oxford since 2019, right? You beat them in 2020 at home with the Kayshon Boutte breakout game when he has 400 million yards and scores all those touchdowns. In 2021, you get walloped by Matt Corral. In 2022, you beat them at home in the Jaden Daniels kind of comeback game. And in 2023, you get run out in the barn burner in Oxford. So, you haven't won in Oxford since you had Joe Burrow at quarterback. So I'm more playing the history than I am playing what Ole Miss has on the roster. I think they're going to have a talented roster because Kiffin has continued to produce talented teams. And they've gone in the portal and they've put together talented rosters.
They brought in 28.
They brought in 28 guys.
Kicked out 31.
Like they told 31 guys to leave, and they brought in 28 of them. And so to me,
if Sage Ryan makes a play,
right? I'm just playing the
Deshaun
history
Womack
more than
makes a
anything
play.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm with you because
I'm just playing the history more than
you have
anything.
to. And
Like,
Lane
you
Kiffin
haven't
is
won
going
there.
to score points.
Yep, it's going to happen. Spectrum Walker, Noah living in the past. I don't think I'm living in the past. I'm playing the history. Like, it's something you haven't done since 2019. It's the same reason people have a certain feeling about season openers, because you haven't won it in 5 years. You haven't won at Oxford since Joe Burrow was your quarterback. Glimmer for that. Noah's got us 2-2 after the first month, if I recall his rant last week. I don't think I said that. I'm just saying you could very well be 2-2 after your first month.
Losing to Clemson in Florida?
Clemson, Ole Miss, Clemson, Florida. Like, you have to play those 3 games in your first month. That's tough.
Don't sleep on Tech.
Yeah, and Southeastern. I mean,
You move that game up.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm just I agree that Ole Miss is going to have a quarterback that's in his first year of starting. They're going to have all these new faces, go down all the story. I'm just looking at it from the fact that you have not gone to Oxford and won since you had the greatest team ever assembled.
I agree.
And you had, 2023, I get the defense was bad. That was a good team, and you went to Oxford and didn't win.
And people, in the offseason, it's easy to look at the schedule and go, that's a win. That's a win. That's a win. You forget what it's like to be on the road in the SEC, where, you went to A&M last year, and it all fell apart in front of you. Like, you're the raccoon with cotton candy.
Yes.
You dipped it in the water, and it all went away. You're like, what?
Where's it at?
There's the season.
What happened?
That's gone.
And
that's what can happen in an SEC road game, and especially when you have what you have and what you've done through a transfer portal season, where you have all these new guys, they go on the road for the first time in the SEC, and they're like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
yeah.
This is what it's like.
This is the college football. Enjoy it.
This is what it's like you signed up for this. Like, this is war, brother.
Like, to me, and I think that LSU has the better roster. If you're matching up LSU and Ole Miss, take everything out of it. Roster
better
against
quarterback.
roster. You have the better I think it's a win.
But the only thing that you have to ask about LSU, and there's no way to prove it till you see it, is what happens on the offensive line and what you do defensively.
Because and this was something we touched on last week, was I saw everybody has their high expectations. Like, last week was the week of everyone going all in on LSU after the Hall season.
Of course.
Everyone started, and I'm for it.
I watched his highlights yesterday.
Yes. Like,
it looks like he should have been at LSU for 3
he
years.
He very well could end up being the best player on your team, especially on your defense when you look at the season. And
no expectations there, brother.
Right.
Don't miss a tackle.
Yeah, you better not screw up, buddy. We've seen bad safety players.
$2 million, that's my money.
For that?
God damn it.
Could have kept Sage Ryan for free. And so when I saw our guy.
What am I paying for?
Our guy Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered, his thought process was, if LSU, he was like, I'm not saying LSU's going to be bad, but I'm going to have to see Nussmeier radically, learn how to protect the ball. To me, Nussmeier's like my 10th concern on the list. I ripped off 5 things I'm more concerned about before Garrett Nussmeier.
Left tackle, right tackle, center,
right.
guard.
Offensive line, number 1. Defense meshing, because it's all new faces.
Offensive coordinator.
Run game and offensive coordinator. Those are 5 things I'm more nervous about, and I can keep going before I'm nervous about Garrett Nussmeier. Punter.
More concerned about punter than the quarterback.
Yes. I'm not concerned about Garrett Nussmeier at all. Sabron, how much did they pay Halsey? I'm not sure. How much? I thought you said how much will they play Halsey? And I was going to say every down.
Every down, yeah, play offense.
You can do everything.
For what they paid him.
Yeah, all that money better be the kicker.
And he can pass.
But yeah, Sabron, O-line, that's the number 1 concern, and it will continue. It's the number 1 concern in May. Just wait until we get to August.
Oh, wait for the first false start or the first delay of game.
Oh, my gosh, it's going to be.
On the first play.
Matthew Conkle, he's my 3rd. Nussmeier's your 3rd concern.
Conkle!
Okay, what's 1 and 2? I'm not opposed to Nussmeier being a concern because
I am.
when you looked at Texas A&M, even the South Carolina win, like when you really break down some of the bad throws, he made some bad throws. But I just think he made a whole lot of good throws that outweighed him. Sabrion, run game is number 2, special teams 3, defense 4.
O-line 1.
Yeah, that's what he has O-line at 1.
I agree. I mean, O-line, like, there's no way to know.
Yeah.
That's why it's a concern, because you haven't seen it yet.
Yep.
It could be great.
I hope it is.
Same thing with the run game. It could be great.
Could be excellent.
You made changes along all of those fronts, right? You brought in a new run game coordinator. You have tight ends everywhere. You brought in new people to play offensive line. All of those are question marks because you haven't seen it yet. There was no spring game. There's no real way to evaluate it.
Yes.
Like at practice, what do you see people hit their brother-in-law on it? Like there's no way to know. And you have defensive line that's a new coach.
Right.
That should be a concern. Like these are all like little question marks. Garrett Nussmeier is an exclamation point.
Yeah. Cornerback 2 is a question mark. Who's going to play there? We don't know yet.
And that's what this whole conversation circles back to. You have to figure it out week 1.
Yes.
You don't have time.
No, at all. It has to be figured out.
The path needs to be cleared.
Yes. And this is my issue is I feel like a lot of times LSU's roster or LSU's lineup in week 8 when they're going into Alabama or wherever always looks different than it does in game number 1. In game number 7, it always looks different than game 1. And to me,
it should.
Right, it should. But a lot of times it looks like if you go back to 2022,
if you lose week 1, you better hope to God
it looks different.
That it not only looks different, but you're the team that everybody's going, oh, you're running through people.
Right.
Like week 6, week 7, week 8, where you go to Alabama and win by 10. You go on the road to Ole Miss and win by whatever, like 14.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so that's week 3 you're playing Ole Miss? Week 4?
No, it's week 3 is Florida. Week 5 is Ole Miss.
Yeah, so if you start there, if you lose to Clemson and then week 5 you like make a statement on the road where you win. And it's like
last season.
Yeah, and it starts to be like, okay, LSU is watch out, where you're like not in you're in like on the bubble, and then you start stacking wins, go to Alabama and win. It's like they're too good to ignore.
I agree.
If you lose week 1, that's your way in. You can have
What happened last year? You lost week 1. You get that win against Ole Miss.
It happened 2 years ago.
Right.
It happened 3 years ago. It happened 4 years ago.
That's true. Last season, I vividly remember we sat here after the Ole Miss win, like, God, season's. I mean, it's right there in front of you. We beat Arkansas. LSU beat Arkansas the next weekend. It was okay, guys. This is real. They beat A&M this weekend.
I went to Arkansas.
You drove all the way out there. It was awesome.
That's how much I believe.
And so, like,
Podunk Town.
What I was kind of thinking, the line of thought I had was, I would like LSU's best team to be out there week 1, and that hasn't happened yet, you know. But I'm not saying that, like, there's good reason. You kind of figure out who guys are as the season goes on. I would just like to have the best, your lineup to be kind of set before you go week 1.
This is so funny because all of these things are absolutely true.
What?
Read in the chat. Like, how much times have changed from Les Miles having a play sheet to Conkle? If Brian Kelly doesn't have a play sheet and headset on in week 1, we riot.
I mean, it looked considerably better last season.
I don't know about better or different.
Different.
It looked more managed.
Yes.
But I don't. Man's old.
Yeah, no, he is, but I mean it.
And another, in the chat, P-Dub, for context, our leading rusher didn't start week 1.
That's what I was talking about. Like, why do we, those things need to be figured out before week 1. Caden Durham should have played against USC.
Well, you had John Emery.
Still. That's who was back there on that 4th and 1 when you got
a bad play call.
I mean, it was, but still. I saw Caden Durham make that play against South Carolina. And
Caden Durham played out of necessity against South Carolina. You didn't have anybody else.
Right.
And it's like, oh, maybe we have something. What a bug!
What? Why didn't we figure that out during the spring, summer, or fall?
Oh, the 5-star you got?
Like, I mean, I get that he wasn't an early enrollee because he was running track at Duncanville, but he should have been like. That's one of those talents where it's like, Coach, we have a guy. Like, that's why, like, DJ Pickett better be on that field week 1. I'm not doing this
like your grandpa.
I'm not doing this deal where we have these
better be on that field
where Harold Perkins gets played in week 5. You know, like, you have a talented freshman, put him on the field. Brock TV,
be on that field.
Don't expect to see true freshmen play game 1. That's my problem. And I remember talking about it. Well, I don't remember what year it was, but I remember Jacques like made fun of me for saying something about seniority because I would love to see some true freshmen that have talent get to play in game number 1 instead of figuring it out in game 4.
That's a Coach O versus BK thing.
It is. BK likes to play the older, experienced guys, but sometimes you have a talent like Harold Perkins and Caden Durham and DJ Pickett that they should be on the field game 1. Will Campbell, he was fine with that. With Will Campbell starting game 1.
Necessity. Reed Gilbert got to play.
Yeah, that was for Coach O.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's my litmus test.
Yeah, like,
where's he been? I don't know, but he's here today.
I think he's at.
I'm just saying for LSU. I'm sure that wasn't easy.
No,
it's like, oh, put him in.
Yeah, make that happen. So we rolled right past 8 a.m. this morning.
Football will get you going, brother.
Does. It sure will. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll reset, and we'll figure out what we're going to talk about next. So, Matthew Conkle, before we hit the break. All right, my negativity is flushed from the system. F it, we ball. We're winning it all this season. 10-2 in the playoffs run through the real Death Valley. Come on.
10-2 still sounds like
no. I want
like
11-1.
Heartbroken.
11-1.
12-0.
12-0. You want to just win the whole thing?
What am I paying?